I'm usually here bringing TJ's back to life, Wranglers, but now I got a new project. Got a 2014 Sahara JK Unlimited, and got 12 miles on it. Just picked it up today for my wife, and we're going to do a few modifications to it. First of all, I was told I cannot install a lift kit in it, but I have some Rubicon springs out of a 2013 Rubicon Unlimited with the hard top and all the accessories, and they are the highest rate available, and I want to see what numbers this Sahara has in it. If they're a lower spring rate, I'm going to swap out the springs. Either way, it's going to get new shocks. The Rubicon shocks, the whole suspension was changed in that vehicle immediately, so the parts I have are brand new. And so we measured the front, and from the ground to the fender we got 36 1/8 inches on both sides. On the rear, got 36 1/4 inches on the left and 35 7/8 on the right. Not sure why the difference, but this truck still has the soft top and all the accessories stuffed in the back the way it was delivered from Chrysler the other day, so maybe that has something to do with it. So we'll get it up in the air and check out the spring numbers and see if we can benefit from putting the Rubicon springs in there. Either way, it'll get the shocks, and we'll measure it again once it's all put back together, see if we gained any height. So just as a point of reference, this is before the Rubicon springs from the front view, just had the rear view. Let's see if there can be we can make a noticeable difference on the ride height with the Rubicon springs. Put the left front wheel off. Check out the spring code on the tag, or the part number rather, and that is an upside down 17 AC. So the Rubicon, again, a Rubicon with a hard top and all the accessories, Unlimited. This one has an 18 AC. So theoretically, this spring has a higher spring rate and a little more heavy duty. So I don't know if it's going to change a thing, but we're going to change the shocks out anyways, and we'll pop those other springs in just for kicks and see what happens. One of the things I read online about the Rubicon shocks compared to a Sahara or a Sport Unlimited shock was that the shocks were identical, except they were just painted red for the Rubicon. But as you can see, that the part numbers are completely different, so I would assume the Rubicon would have a little stiffer valving, a little bit more built into it, and hopefully it does. Might stiffen up the ride on the Sahara just a little bit, but that's okay. My wife hasn't driven the Jeep yet, so she won't know the difference. That's why I'm trying to sneak these springs in here tonight. Maybe she won't know notice the difference in height, if in fact we do get a little bit extra. And I've got the left front spring out of it. Quick method of getting these springs out, which doesn't require any spring compressors or any tools or anything, would be basically to remove the shock and disconnect the sway bar link, and then let this side of the axle droop as far as it can, and actually get a floor jack under the opposite side and jack it up as high as it'll go, compress the opposite side fully, and just by pushing down on the axle here, it droops enough to pop that stock spring out of there, and that way you don't have to use a spring compressor or rent a spring compressor. But I'm sure a lifted coil would be a little bit more difficult to install. You may have to loosen up all the track bars and disconnect the trailing arm as well. But just for the stock spring swap, it's done fairly easily with no tools other than a couple 18mm wrenches. Well, the first side is complete, and hopefully this gives me a little bit of lift, because that would have been a great time to install a small spacer, maybe a 3/4 inch for leveling or 1 inch. But I'm hopeful with the Rubicon spring I get an inch of lift, and that'll be enough to clear the 33-inch tires we're going to put on this next week. So 3 more corners to go and see how it sits. A couple important things I forgot to mention is when you disconnect the sway bar links and the shocks and so forth to droop the axle to remove the springs, very important to disconnect the brake line bracket right here from the frame, so you let that droop down. And also the ABS wire has a little Christmas tree fastener up against the frame. You don't want to overstress those two things and either weaken or break them or bend something. So before you let the axles droop down for the spring replacement, definitely disconnect the brake line and the ABS wire. Got the Rubicon suspension all installed, springs and shocks, and I did take about 6 cans of rubberized undercoat while the truck was brand new, fresh, and did all the undercarriage of the body. And tomorrow I've got some body shop undercoating coming with the wand, and I can do inside the frame and inside the body channels. But 6 good cans, 6 cans of pretty heavy rubberized undercoat. Anything that was white or gray paint underneath the body is now all black. So hopefully that will give us a little bit of corrosion protection here in New England. Maybe a little bit of sound deadening as well. Alright, let's get these wheels on and see if in fact we did gain any height on the suspension. Now that the Jeep is on the ground, doesn't look a whole lot different with the Rubicon springs than it did with the stock Sahara springs. I measured it and I might have netted 3/8 of an inch lift in the front and between 3/4 and 1 inch in the back. We went from 36 1/8 to 36 1/2 in the front to the flare, and the rear went from 36 even to 37. So whether it rides better, performs better with the shocks and the spring combination remains to be seen, but as far as a lift, big waste of time in my opinion. Would have been better off to go with the budget boost or something like that. So when the new tires come in, getting 33-inch Duratracs on 17 by 8.5 inch wheels, we'll see how they fit, and probably have to give it a little height somehow. And we'll see how it goes. Till next week.